Welcome everybody to Shop Under the Oaks. Today we're going to be looking at the Vevor router sled, the 60-inch model. Basically, they have two sleds on their website. One has a more adjustable base to it. This is the model that does not have that adjustability. It's just what they had in stock. The one that has the adjustability is just currently out of stock for whatever reason. We'll go over a few things with the build on the sled and how it's put together, and the tweaking of things, and then we're going to do a little bit of flattening of this little pecan piece of pecan I got here. So one thing to take note of is this sled is in the same class, and I say class, as other sleds that basically are the same design. They really do not have a lot of adjustment to the sled itself. So you only have about 2 1/8 inch clearance below these rails for a workpiece. So if you're doing something that's greater than 2 1/8 inch, you're going to need to either lower the workpiece or raise the whole sled assembly. And it's pretty simple to do. I just clamped on a couple pieces of 3/4 on either side of this little rolling table I got, and it gave me that 3/4 of an inch height that I needed. And then in combination with using the plunge router, then you've got a little bit more travel that you can work with. So it's less setting up and breaking down, resetting to get your stuff done. But if you're just doing cutting boards or stock, anything less than 2 inches, it goes right on the table that you're working on, goes on your table saw, that kind of thing. A good suggestion would be a dedicated piece of 3/4 inch plywood that you can just throw up on your workbench and your table saws, and the thing will just sit right on it. That's what I'm going to be doing eventually, but space doesn't allow that at this time. I can just store the sled, and if you're like me, you build some of these little things that you're going to use, and you wind up needing that wood for something else, and all of a sudden you've cut up your dedicated 3/4 inch piece of plywood for something. So anyway, moving on. A couple other things about this unit is when you get it and you got to put it together, it's pretty straightforward. You've got 2 bolts on each rail per side. So it's a grand total of four nuts and bolts here, 4 nuts and bolts here, and you can loosen them up and slide them easily. It's they're a little rail nut is all they are, with a little bearing in them that kind of holds them in place. That's a spring-loaded bearing, which is actually a pretty ingenious design. I've never really seen any of those before, which is neither here nor there. You have a locking system right here on this red handle that if you want to stay in the same position, you can tighten both of those down. You got one on either side. Then you can move your router back and forth, plunge, back and forth, plunge, if you're just doing one cut. But the way I'm using the unit was I set my depth, how deep I wanted to cut, held on to the router, because I'm not using their locking lugs, because I'm making those changes a little faster than, I don't want to have to untighten these nuts every time to do it, but they are there to keep the router from jumping around on you. It's just easier not to make deeper cuts and just hold on to the router. But the neat thing is, all you've got to do is just roll it back and forth. This thing rolls wonderful. So I used this thing a couple hours yesterday, just playing around with it, trying to see what the good and the bad was. I haven't found anything that's just not working. Does it have all the bells and whistles of a flattening jig? Absolutely not. However, this thing is coming in $50 to $100 cheaper than any other router sled in the class that we're looking at here. And when I say class, is basically how it functions, the adjustability of the unit, those kind of things. I mean, for the price, you can't beat this thing. It does the job, and then it does it very well. And like I said, it has years of, it's a pretty well built unit. I think it can be used for years and years to come. Because realistically, all you need on a router sled is just something to be able to move the router back and forth while it's spinning that servicing bit, and it doesn't jump up and down. It gives you a consistent cut. So does it work? Absolutely. Does it work at a good, fair price? Absolutely. I would definitely recommend it, especially if it's, it's your first one that you're getting into and you've got a smaller shop. My shop is not huge. It's a little bit bigger than a two-car garage, but not by much. So it's a unit that I can just basically hang on the wall or store on a shelf somewhere that's out of the way until I need it. I can use it on my small table. I can use it on my wider table. I can get a dedicated piece of 3/4 plywood or anything you want to do. The unit is basically up for it. With having that 60-inch rail, man, that's a lot of area to cover, and it basically is infinite the other way. As long as you've got a nice flat long surface, you could definitely do some planning on some large projects, or leveling rather. So yeah, I mean, as you can see, this little piece of pecan we got here, and I say little, it's been drying for about 6-7 years. I just found it on the side of the road, and not sure exactly what we're going to do with it, but whatever it is, we've got a nice flat surface to start with. So we'll end up flipping it over, doing the other side, and get us a nice clean cookie, and then figure out what we're gonna do with it. So until next time, hopefully you guys have a great day. If there's anything that you need to know, any kind of questions, don't hesitate. I try to answer all the people that send me messages or whatever. If I've got the answer, I'll give you the answer. If I don't have the answer, I can direct you in a way to get the answers. But until next time, y'all have a great day, and keep on cutting stuff up, man.